everyone! Today we're going to talk about shocking differences between American English and British English. The video would be devoted to some practical facts and practical sentences and materials with our best native speaker, Laura. Today we'll start with the famous quote by Bernard Shaw. England and America are two countries separated by a common language. Our video is devoted to the shocking differences between American English and British English. Please stay with us if you would like to know more about differences between these two cultures and some background historical facts, also practical advice from our best expert, American Laura Bohannon. So, you know what, many of my students complain very often that they go to school and they are corrected by their teacher because they just told not rubber but eraser, because they told not biscuit but cookie. Let's try to decide today and come into conclusion whether it's right or wrong to correct kids or just provide them with different variations. And maybe from today you will start learning both variations of American English and British English. And most importantly, if you will ask me if we are going to pass IELTS or maybe TOEFL or maybe other international Cambridge exams or Oxford, you know, what about American English and British English? Which English is correct? So today we will answer all your questions. To begin with, I'd like to mention that it goes far back to the 16th or 17th century then British people brought language to American culture, actually. And later on, the famous man Noah Webster set in stone a very important dictionary for Americans where he tried to differentiate American English from British English in such a way showing the cultural independence from a mother language. And that's, we know, what differentiates Americans from British people. So there are many evidences and differences, quite a few, in American English and British English in pronunciation, grammar, and vocabulary. But you know what? All of them are not so significant. Today we would try to highlight just the most important, maybe sometimes ridiculous words for Americans, which would sound like in British English, and we would like to show you and make your language learning more competent. So, hi Laura, how are you today?
Hello.
Yeah, I would like to start with the rubric cooking and food. So, you know, the most common words and maybe different words which would be difficult to recognize by non-native speakers. But I'm pretty sure that native speakers know how British people would pronounce or American people would pronounce this word, and they know these typical differences. So my first word today would be for kitchenware, or maybe some kitchen items and kitchen topic. So British people would say cooker. American people?
Stove.
British people would say cupboard.
We would say cabinet.
Okay, what about food? British people would say aubergine.
We would say eggplant.
Yeah, and we talked with Laura previously, so I told Laura, you know, Laura, I'm going to cook today stew, so I would use aubergine for my stew.
And I was like, what is aubergine? I'd never heard of it.
The same conversation was about courgette.
Squash or zucchini.
Yeah, when I lived in Ireland, Irish people everywhere call it and tell courgette. So, but now you know both American English and British English, okay? What about biscuits?
Oh, cookies.
Okay. What about tin?
We would say can.
Yeah, because usually you have, and in winter time you usually use tin food or canned food. For jelly, Americans would say
Jello.
Okay. For ice lolly,
We would say popsicles.
yeah, which is like kind of it's a little bit different from an ice cream. You will see the picture, but it's like frozen juice, with maybe jam or sometimes with sugar. Yeah. What about sweets?
Oh, we would say candy.
Okay. Maybe, Laura, you know more words. So I would like you to say what are their differences. For me, it was shocking when I was in England that when I first came to England, because it was my second trip after the US. So first my language was American English. So in America they say French fries, and in England they say chips, So I thought fish and chips. I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to provide me with crisps. It's so unhealthy. It's even less healthy than, with chips, with French fries. So, did you remember? British say chips, Americans say?
French fries.
Okay. British say crisps?
I say chips.
Okay. Maybe some more words related with food.
Oh, I'm trying to think of some of the ones that we talked about.
We highlighted the most
we
important.
highlighted
Yeah.
the
So
most
then
important words.
if you have more words related with food topic which have differences in American English and British English, please leave us the comments. Okay?
I think since I've moved to Ukraine, I have learned a lot more about British English because I never really heard it over in America. So there's a couple times that I've run into words here and I have no idea what they mean. And we have to sometimes even define them going into Russian or Ukrainian before I understand the British English because they're so different.
Okay, let's move to the topic clothes.
Clothes.
Okay. So, first word, and I told Laura about this joke today, would be really uncomfortable to know if you don't know the difference between pants and jeans and trousers. So in British English we would say trousers.
And we would say pants.
Okay. Though in American English, pants means in meaning underwear.
Underwear in English. American English.
In American English. In British English, pants, underwear, not trousers. So if a British patient goes to American doctor, an American doctor tells to British patient to take off the pants, might be a really uncomfortable situation. The same with the word mad, because in American English, mad, it's really, really angry.
Angry.
Yeah, in British English, mad, it's crazy. So if you would call the past person mad, in British English, that has totally different meaning. So crazy
And we would say crazy.
yeah. It's, as for me, crazy is more offensive than mad.
But in American English, crazy is we throw it around all the time. It's not offensive at all.
Yeah.
So the value of the word is also different.
Maybe for me it was really surprising when I lived in the US that when you go to the store, sports store or shop, they have sneakers. British people would say sport shoes.
Yeah, I wouldn't understand that. Yeah, we say sneakers, that's kind of an older word, or tennis shoes, actually, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there are more differences in the word vest. You will see the difference, what's the meaning of the vest in American English. So Laura will explain.
It's kind of like a shirt or a sweater that has no sleeves, and it usually has a V, sometimes it has buttons. But you wear it over your shirt to keep you warm.
Yeah. In British English, it's slightly different. So it's like what you put under your shirt and under your dress sometimes. So it's close to your body. It's not something what you would wear in public. Yeah.
And we would call that an undershirt.
Yeah. So that's totally different. And there are many variations, but we would like to highlight the most important. In British English, I would say queue.
And I had to learn that one. We would say line. I'm standing in a line.
I would say elevator in British English.
Oh, well, you would
Or
say
lift. I would say lift.
I would say elevator.
Okay. Yes, so that's one of the most important things. I'd like to deviate a little bit from the topic, that when you start learning the languages, so you can confuse words, and you might know both American English and British English, but the most important, it's like to follow the rule of thumb. That's what I told you. If you prepare for Cambridge exams or IELTS, you can use both American English and British English. But if you start speaking in American English, and if you say fast, British people would say fast, okay? If you would say in American English, in British English, let's say
Book.
Book. Yeah.
Different. Yeah.
Book. Okay, so then you need to follow the rule of thumb and speak only in British English, not doing the thing like I did before.
Like a surgic, you don't want to do that.
Yes. So let's move on. How about film?
We would probably say movie.
Okay. What about the downtown? It's American English or British English? Laura, let them guess. Because at school they are learning British English more.
Yeah.
So
it's American. We say downtown.
Yes. Okay. And British people would say city center. Okay. Yeah. Very interesting discussion was going on between me and Laura about the word actually rubber, because if I'm speaking British English I would say rubber.
And I would say eraser.
Okay. And for American people, Laura had a situation at our school, Polyglot. The previous week, kids came and they were looking for their rubber.
Which to me, in American English, a rubber is a condom for having sex. So when the small children were looking for the rubber, it kind of caused me a panic for a minute, because I didn't understand what they were really looking for. And then I finally figured it out, that they were looking for erasers.
Another word, yeah, if we started talking about such sensitive topics, so I'm sure one of my students, at least Kirill, would like it, so hopefully more teenagers will enjoy. So if we're talking about loo in British English, in American English, it's
John. It's a slang for the bathroom, or we would say bathroom.
And we would say toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Laura had situation with smokers, right?
Yeah, somebody said they were smoking in the toilet, and I was like totally shocked. I couldn't figure out what they were talking about, because to me a toilet is that porcelain that you sit on. So if somebody's smoking in the toilet, their head is down in the water, and how can you smoke, and why would you smoke there? But the British call the whole room the toilet, and so we call it the bathroom. So it was very strange for me.
Maybe some other words, this is like fall and autumn. I would say autumn most of the time.
I would say fall most of the time.
Yeah, but if Laura would hear autumn, she understands, right?
Yes.
Yes.
For autumn.
Yeah. Maybe some other words, which are totally different, which sound totally different in American English and British English. Please leave us comments, because there are plenty of such words, including idiomatic expressions. Some idioms have totally different connotation in American English, and once we had misunderstanding with Laura when I came from London. I had a course in London, and I came to Laura and said, Laura, I'm going to practice everything what I've learned. I am so full of beans, I'm like, Laura. So Laura started laughing, and I didn't understand that, respond, because I thought, I'm really serious about the topic. I'm really full of being. I'm excited, but what I did there, and full of energy and zest, that's what I was about to tell Laura.
But in American English, when somebody's full of beans, that means that they're full of gas, and they're...
Oh, I just recollected from other classes with you. We have the English practical book where kids had lots of different poems from the UK. I brought them, and I developed a specialized course. And we had a word the other day in the poem, pussy. And I looked at you, and you were really surprised. So you talked to me, Julia, why this word is here, pussy? Because pussy in British English, it's like cat,
But in American English, it's a very, very bad word. And it kind of refers to a weak man, but it's kind of a sexual reference, and it's very offensive. And so...
Is it similar to sissy?
A little bit, yes. Sissy is a better variant. I almost can't say the other word. And so when I had to teach the kids that poem, I was extremely uncomfortable, because for me it's a very, very bad word, but of course they use it all the time in the British language. So you have a few things like that, yeah.
Yeah. British people most of the time say faucet.
And we say tap.
British people say brilliant idea.
We say awesome idea or excellent idea.
Yeah. British people would say mobile phone.
Cell phone.
Okay. British people would say post.
Mail.
Okay. And many, many other differences. But aside from vocabulary, there are so many differences in pronunciation, intonation, and also grammar. So British people would usually say, even with negation modal verb, need, needed, and Americans.
I don't need.
Yeah, and Laura told me about the story that sometimes needn't could be used, but
it would probably be by some professor who's very arrogant in the university, who thinks he's better than everybody else, and he would just speak so lofty. Because we have differences in our culture. The British are much more formal, whereas the Americans are much more informal. So when we think about those words like needn't, we think about that very formal professor.
Yeah, British people are prissy, So the other thing which can make my students really, really happy, because the previous week we drilled lots of different sentences on present perfect. So guys, if you would like to move to the US and live there, you don't need this.
We use it very rarely. Probably 10% of our languages uses that. We are much more active voice. Yeah.
Yeah, and British people use more passive voice. That's why we drill lots of passive sentences. The door was closed by him. Okay. Yes, the letter was written by my friend. Americans tend to use more active voice.
He closed the door. He wrote a letter.
I could tell Laura, I have just cooked the great stew with aubergine and courgette. Laura would say, I cooked.
I cooked stew with squash and eggplant.
Yeah.
New words for me that I learned.
Yes. If you try to mention, there are more differences, but as I mentioned before, all of them are not so significant. And actually, because English is considered to be the second most important language in the world, and nowadays it's international language, so majority of people, most of the planet's population use these languages with different purposes. So we need to understand that it's globish, you know, and we need to understand that there should be differences and there would be differences, and new words would appear in the language, and it should not stop us from perfection, and it shouldn't stop us from learning, because even for Americans, as you could see, some British words are really discovery, some British words are new, and it's like fulfillment to their vocabulary. So hopefully we would make our dreams come true, and we would continue learning together. So if you would like to know more different facts and information about English language and improve your language with us, please subscribe to our channel so you will know next notification about new videos, because our plans are huge.
Goodbye.